Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Pash On Podcast. Let's get started with your host, Brian Pash.
Hi, this is Brian Pash, and welcome to another podcast. On today's show, I want to talk about the recent changes at Ford Direct and the digital advertising program and websites that are approved for Ford dealers in the United States. So I'm working on a research report to understand the decisions that the Ford Dealer Council and advisory boards made in selecting 4 website companies for Ford dealers in the United States to choose from. Those 4 companies are Dealer.com, CDK, DealerOn, and Giselle. As part of my research, I had the pleasure of interviewing Mike Jurecki, who is now the former CEO of Ford Direct, but just 2 weeks ago, he was the CEO. We learned this week that Mike and the COO of Ford Direct are no longer with the company. So obviously this shakeup at the top puts, some of the upcoming decisions in question and maybe hanging the Ford dealers out to dry for a little longer. Let me explain. As part of my interview with Mike, I asked him why only Dealer.com is the approved digital marketing co-op vendor for Ford dealers. Meaning, a Ford dealer can pick a CDK website or a DealerOn website, but Dealer.com is the only company that was authorized to do the digital marketing for co-op funds. Michael had indicated that they wanted to reevaluate the whole digital program and that in the coming weeks, some announcements would be made. Of course, he didn't disclose what those announcements were because they were not public information, but it got me thinking, why would Ford Direct wait after announcing 4 website platforms? Why wouldn't they certify these 4 companies? And as I started asking around the industry, there were some conversations that Ford Direct or Ford themselves was thinking about taking the entire co-op digital marketing funds and managing that internally for Ford dealers. Now, I don't have any confirmation on this, and of course, I'm going to wait to see what the official announcement is, but that would be a pretty major shakeup for Ford dealers. Keep in mind that OEMs have used middle managers to help them train the dealers in their franchise networks on digital marketing, to encourage them to work on things like reviews and lead handling process. And what I guess dealers never really thought about is how these programs were paid for. And in recent years, we've learned that the middle managers actually fund themselves in creative ways, some of which are actually hurting the automotive franchise dealer network. And let me explain. Let's start with Ford Direct. So what I've learned is that even though Mike Jurecki said that there was a new direction for Ford Direct, the website packages managed by Ford Direct were being marked up at entry level by 60% and at the top packages 40 to 45%, meaning just using a rough number. If one of the 4 website vendors contracted with Ford Direct to deliver a package called a package A for $1,000, Ford Direct would be selling that package for $1,600 because that's the 60% markup. Maybe an advanced package that was $3,000, that would be marked up 40%, so maybe that would come in at $4,200. So you understand that at the low end, some of these packages would generate a cash flow to Ford Direct of $600 per franchise dealer, and there's around 4,000, maybe a little over 4,000 in the Ford network, up to $1,000 or $4 million a month or $50 million a year just on the website markup. Then, obviously, the question comes, what about the digital marketing? The unintended consequences of some of these OEM programs is almost like squeezing the life out of the website and agency partners that serve dealers. Let me explain. When you go into an OEM program, the OEMs or their middle managers ask you to give a competitive price that they can make money on as a middle manager. So for the Ford Direct program, I bet Dealer Ron and CDK and Giselle thought that eventually they'd be approved for the digital marketing and they can make some money on those services. And of course, in volume, Google provides agency partners with monies as commissions if they hit certain spending goals. Imagine if all of that digital advertising co-op money was now taken internally. None of those 4 companies would benefit from that additional cash flow, and they'd be stuck with a skinny deal. One of the other unintended consequences is that if the digital marketing was taken and centrally managed, then the kind of monthly call where Ford dealers would be talking with their website provider who's also running the digital marketing to come up with a strategy, well, I think there'd be a lot of finger pointing going on if it was a centralized AdWords strategy versus a website local support platform call, and that's it. So we're going to have to wait and see what's going on. But as an industry, it may not surprise me. It may surprise some dealers that, well, some of the companies that we know might disappear. Let me explain. So the Infinity program just got a new twist. Shift Digital won the contract to manage the Infinity digital marketing program. And from my anonymous sources, companies that create website platforms have been invited to join the Infinity program with one caveat, that they'll have to give 50 to 60% of all gross to Shift Digital. I don't know if anybody understands what that means. Could your parts department, could your service department survive, stay innovative, hire great people, provide great support if 60% of every repair order and 50% of all parts were taken as a commission by the OEM, right? So think about this. Are we getting to a point where the OEMs really don't care about website companies? They don't care about ad agencies. They're just worried about their brand. They're worried about online consistency. They want their dealers to thrive. Don't get me wrong. They're not anti-dealer. They're just saying, listen, there's a lot of drama. There's a little hands in the pie. Everyone's getting a little payoff here or backside money here. So why don't we just get rid of all the drama and get some basic website functionality? I don't care if they make a lot of money. We're going to take control of the big money, which is the digital advertising, and, well, get a VIG, get a percentage on every piece of technology that we recommend. Well, that would surely resolve some of the cost issues that the manufacturers are facing. It would surely reduce the drama. And I wouldn't be surprised even if Google would like to see a centralized digital marketing management system because, well, right now they're paying commission to all the large advertising partners and dealers just move from one program to another. There's no real growth. But if one person controlled everything, well, they could work with that one person to increase spend across the entire channel. Google wouldn't have to pay the commissions that they pay, and Google would have more influence on making sure the OEMs increase their digital spend. Right now, it's too fragmented. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the years ahead. One of the things that I see as an unintended consequence, anybody who's signed up for the Shift Digital programs, they've effectively given control of their business to a third party. Meaning, confidentially, members of Shift Digital programs have shared with me that when you join the Shift Digital program, you are on a 30-day window. You can be canceled out of the program with 30 days notice. But in order to join the program, you have to sign over all of your clients. And if you leave the program or if you're thrown out of the program, you can't solicit those clients back. So effectively, let's just say I'm a website company. I want to join the Infinity program and I have 100 Infinity dealers. I'm charging $2,000 a month. That few $1 million of revenue, well, if I had to join the program, I'd have to give 60% of that existing cash flow that I've built on my own sweat to a stranger. And then any new Infinity clients would be at 60%. And then if I left the program because I was thrown out, I couldn't go back and solicit those clients. I'm not really sure if the manufacturers understood or if they do understand this, it's very clear then they have no concern for the innovation, the advancement, or the funding of the companies that support their dealer network. And very well, if they're saying yes, if some of you are listening to this and say, yeah, the OEMs know that completely. They just think that Shift Digital would be the best manager, and they don't care if companies go out of business. They'll just find another company who's willing to work, at a low basement fee. Okay, I'm not sure how that's going to be the best for the franchise dealers, but maybe that's what the OEM wants. So that's why I'm doing this upcoming research report on Ford Direct. I'm also going to include some updates on the general digital marketing managed landscape, because it's really quite complex. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 is very disorganized, and it could be very well that manufacturers are going to centralize these digital marketing investments to avoid overlap, to avoid waste, to avoid all the payouts and paybacks and side money, and to really do what's best for their brand. Maybe we've brought it on ourselves by making this so complex. Maybe, it's a jump ball, and some OEMs will realize the unintended consequences of these managed programs and make changes. Only time will tell. So stay tuned. If you would like a copy of the Ford Direct research report, just send me an email to brian@pcgcompanies.com, and I'll make sure that you get on the advanced notification list. In the meantime, if you're a Ford dealer, if you're on the Ford Dealer Advisory Council, if you're on the Ford Dealer Technology Council, and we're part of the decisions to pick these 4 companies, I'd love to talk with you off the record just to understand what your group is thinking. What I've been told is that there were 7 finalists, and the 4 that were chosen by the Ford Technology Advisory Board and Dealer Advisory Board. Okay, that's what I'm going to take at face value, and that there wasn't any other politics other than those committees deciding that they wanted to do what's best in their minds for dealers. So if you've been part of those decisions or have any backstory, you can help me for my research. Please reach out. Once again, it's brian@pcgcompanies.com, and stay tuned. This is going to be a great story to follow as we try to make sure that the interests of Ford franchise dealers are protected. I've been an advocate for dealers for 13 years, and I continue to choose to stand up for dealers and their rights and to speak on the topics that no one else wants to talk about because they're afraid of the influence of middle managers and, people who hold their business captive. And that's not a life that I choose to live, and that's why I will always be for the dealer first above all. So thank you for listening to today's podcast, and I'll see you next week on my show.